wanna be the greatest, you can be the best. You can be the King Kong banging on your chest.
You can beat the world, you can beat the war. You can talk to God, go banging on his door.
You can throw your hands up, you can beat the clock. You can move a mountain, you can break rocks.
You can be a master, don't wait for luck. Dedicate yourself and you gon' find yourself
Standing in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And the world's gonna know your name.
Yeah.
Cause you burn with the greatest flame.
Yeah.
And the world's gonna know your name.
Yeah.
And you'll be on the walls of the Hall of Fame. You can go the distance, you can run the mile.
Live from Milwaukee, Wisconsin in Studio B, you have entered the Generation Evolution. This is a recorded show on YouTube and on Spotify. I'm Blake.
I'm Mark.
And welcome to the show. This is a special Friday mid-afternoon, evening edition of the show. We have just dealt with two massive thunderstorms. So hopefully we can get through a good about half hour without another storm. So, anyway.
All we can do is give it a shot, right, buddy?
Exactly. We're opening it up, obviously, with the script and Well I Am, thinking Hall of Fame, sacred tradition. We open up with this. So, because I'm lazy and I'm a little tired, I decided we're not doing this in the studio today. I'm upstairs, in my chair, in the living room. I call it Studio B. On the TV is actually the WrestleCon Super Show. That was from yesterday.
Okay.
I'm currently watching that, and the background is actually my sixth show already this weekend. So,
Damn, you're taking in all the sites.
because today I watched the program now, and I watched TNA. So now I got this on. Tomorrow I do plan on watching Bloodsport before NXT. So that's tomorrow. That's not today. Today, we're here because the Hall of Fame is tonight. And I know a lot of people listening to this probably won't be able to listen to this before the Hall of Fame because they're probably watching some other wrestling show. But the cool thing about this is it's easy to listen to no matter what. It's pretty much going to be me throwing it to Mark and letting him do his thing about our Hall of Fame inductees. Maybe I'll chime in here and there, but mostly I'm going to let this one be Mark's show.
You know what? Is it me or is the Hall of Fame list getting shorter every year?
Well, what's interesting is that we have, obviously, our main eventer. We have one other star. We have a woman. We have a tag team. We have the new Immortal Moment, which we'll get to. And then they have the Legacy department, which we're going to start with the Legacy names. And we have three people going into the Legacy wing. So we'll start with those, and I'll throw it to you to do your thing. First person up is Ivan Koloff.
Oh my God. I remember the first time that I heard the name Ivan Koloff was in the Jim Crockett territory, NWA. He had another tag team partner. I think it's Ivan Kerdoodle. They wrestled as the Mad Russians. Ivan always brought his chain with him that he wore around his neck and used in the ring. Also used on opponents. Stiff type of person. You would know it when you got hit by him. But always a thinker in the ring as far as what needed to be done. Then went off on his own for a little bit, and then lo and behold, brought in again under the Jim Crockett Promotions, but this time I believe that's when it was switching it from Turner. His nephew, Nikita Koloff, they called him the Russian Sickle because of the finishing move he had. But Ivan was always a thinker, always in the business, making sure that if you're doing a match, that you do the match well and you finish and you stayed in character until the cameras were off, and also kind of schooled some of the younger wrestlers on what they needed to work on, which was good. But he was one of those that I'm telling you that when he was in his persona, man, he scared you shitless. And when he brought that chain in and started banging around with it, I believe there was a story about Ivan and wrestling a bear, and the bear was declawed.
Was that real?
That's the story that
I've heard that
happened.
story.
And the bear was declawed, and some of the teeth were missing, and the bear was elderly, and they wrestled, and I believe Ivan won barely, but he still had some marks, from the bear, and the bear, he didn't take into account how heavy the bear could be, and
Wow.
won. And I guess there were other wrestlers that, because the bear thought he was playing, and that's how the bear played, didn't want to let go of Ivan for a while. So,
Well, there you go. So I said I'm watching the WrestleCon Super Show, and while you were talking, they introduced Sean Mooney. Look at how into it now saying,
Sean Mooney,
like, what is going on with the show?
in house.
Yeah, so Sean Mooney is in the ring and watching the Super Show. This is from yesterday, but still, that's a thing. All right, let's move on. Continue with the legacy. The one, the only, Dory Funk.
Oh my lord. The Funk Brothers. You love them, hate them. Amarillo, Texas. Another Texas family. Deep in the wrestling. They started out as baby
Deep in the heart of Texas.
There you go. Started out as baby faces, and Dory, I think, was more of the technical wrestler of the brothers. And got job done teaming with his brother. Brought in Terry. He was the last one, and Terry was a little bit on the wild side. And when the camera was on Terry, man, he fit that wild side persona to a T. Dory was the one that kind of had to wrangle him in at times. Dory, like I said, was a more technical wrestler of the group, where Terry was kind of more of, let's see, kind of like a Mick Foley. Let's see how much pain I can endure and what I can do it with, branding iron, barbed wire, whatever. Dory was not into that. Dory was, like I said, more on the technical, scientific thing, and more into submission holds. Yeah, but when Dory, story is, when Dory locked up with you, you felt it. He was another stiff hitter where, man, when he would hit you, you're not just getting love tap, you're feeling the pain that comes with that. And that's how he worked, and he got success with that. And what can I say about Dory Funk? Except the man was kind of soft spoken until you pissed him off. But yeah, that was Dory, as far as I know of them. And then kind of wrestled in the Texas area, and then went to the Crockett Promotions, wrestled for a little bit there, and then I think moved on to Florida, wrestled a little bit for Vince, and then last I know, you were working with Turner in WCW, and Dory retired from there. But Terry, God bless Terry, he still kept on going. The thing with the Funk Brothers is, even though as they got older, they got better and more into the business. And there was always, I think, Terry's wrestling school, where he was training the new breed of hardcore wrestlers. So,
Well, so if you're watching the YouTube side and you're seeing me look at the screen, the match currently going on is Ninja Mac versus I don't even know who this is, but there's a random match going on. So let's move on. Kamala.
Ugandan giant. Oh, Kamala has been everywhere in different organizations. World class, CWF, Florida Wrestling, Crockett Promotion, working for WWF at the time, now. He's been all over the place, and the thing with him is his gimmick. He'll even tell you that he puts on the paint and the mask, and Kimchi is his handler, and he just got. He goes. The real story is, if he babbles, people will think it's a foreign language. So he came into the ring, tapping his stomach, and the story was that they found him in Uganda in his tribe, and he was the head of the tribe, and he was the one that always would basically be the one to protect the tribe, and they convinced him to come to America to wrestle so he could send money back to his family in Uganda. I got a kick out of it. And if you do the background after he retired, guy, he'll tell you that when he goes to when he went to some of these conventions and he did it and he was in pain, it was tapping. Always had to tap the belly. Always had to tap the belly. I believe diabetes kind of crept up on Kamala and other health issues. But from what I understand, if someone would bump into him in an airport or even in a restaurant, he wasn't that type of person that wouldn't like shy you away. He basically said, "Okay, you want an autograph? I'll get an autograph. You want a picture? No problem." So basically, when the cameras were off, he was very nice guy. Well liked. There was some issue though at one time that supposedly one of the territories stiffed him for pay. He tried to go after him, but was not successful. So, but very, very wonderful, well liked man, and known throughout the territories, and didn't have a lot of moves, but when he did, the big splash was his finisher, and
very 80s. Very 80s.
Yeah, and no one got up from the big splash. So,
all right, let's move on. So they're doing matches now. I don't get this. I will never get this. No one explains to me.
You and me both.
So it's the first ever immortal moment. It is from WrestleMania 13. Bret the Hitman Hart versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. This will be inducted by CM Punk. I don't know how to feel about this. I asked my friend Josh about this, and he's like, "Well, UFC inducts fights, but like that still doesn't help me. That didn't help me at all." So, how do you feel about inducting a match or a moment or whatever we're calling?
Okay, so now here, I guess follow-up question is: are they getting additional rings, or is it just
I
acknowledgement?
But I think this is just an acknowledgement. Like, if this is an actual Hall of Fame, this would be like, go to a room and watch the match. Which, if that's cool. But again, I know sports that have actual physical Hall of Fames that don't do this. So I don't get it.
Well, the other thing, too, is where's the Warrior Award that they would
not doing
give?
That this year.
Huh? We're not
doing that this year.
Yeah, okay. Can someone answer that question? What happened?
Well,
was there a falling out between Dana Warrior and?
Yeah, probably.
Okay. Well,
I don't think Dana Warrior, I think, got released during the merger. I think. And I'm not going to lie. This is me being me. I'm kind of happy there's no talking about Warrior this year, because I didn't want to have to explain the controversy.
Well, there were several people that didn't like Warrior.
Oh, I know. We're not talking about Warrior.
Yeah.
Okay. We're talking about
we'll leave it at that.
This match, your thoughts on this match being the first one being inducted like this?
Honestly, if they were going to do this, I would have thought they would have picked at least a immortal moment from like the first WrestleMania that put everything on the map.
Well, people call this one of the best matches ever done.
Oh,
and
definitely.
the double turn that started Stone Cold Steve Austin to become what he is now.
Yeah, definitely. That, and it is a memorable match. I mean, if I remember right, I believe it went almost to the time limit, and back and forth, blood, pain. Brett had him in the sharpshooter, and I don't think he tapped. I believe he tried to reverse it, and in the process there was other things, but it was one of those where you basically thought that Brett was going to basically come out on top and basically not have to worry about the length of the match, but that wasn't the case.
So, by the way, to answer your question, this was a 22:05, and it was no disqualification submission match, and Ken Shamrock was the referee.
Yeah,
and the match ended by ref stoppage with the bloody Stone Cold face.
Yeah, my understanding is that they explained the reason for the ref stoppage was supposedly in the state that they was in, that there was a caveat when it came to blood and obstructing a wrestler or boxer's vision.
That's hysterical because it was in Rosemont. It was in Rosemont, Illinois. That's funny to me.
Yeah, so that was the thing they were using for the reason why Shamrock stopped it, because a lot people kind of thought, what the hell was going on? Why is Shamrock making a stoppage? And I'm guessing he got this from.
Oh, of course. Yeah, we go with it.
So I mean, yeah, the match very, very memorable for both combatants. It came down to, once again, Brett, the excellence of the execution, and Stone Cold, the kick ass and whoop ass, and to me, I think if they would have had a different referee, I think things would have been different.
Fair enough. All right, let's move on. We have a team who kind of spoiled their entry before they announced it. And it is the natural disasters, John Tenta, Earthquake, and Fred Ottman. Typhoon. Yep. They have not announced who will be inducting them. I wouldn't be shocked if it's like Cody or something like that. But, good. All yours.
Two guys.
And if you want to talk about them as a team or individually, you do your thing.
Well, let me start off first with John Tenta, who basically Canada, did Canadian wrestling, got into American wrestling, trained from wrestlers from Jim Crockett promotion, including the Road Warriors that helped train him, and along with other top stars in the Crockett promotion. Big man, agile man. One of these guys that basically, when you did the finishing move, when you kind of sat on your chest, there were people that said it felt like an elephant was on top of him, which is probably accurate, very accurate. His thing with Earthquake is he would stomp around the opponent, and the finishing move, the big stab, was the landing on the chest, hence the name Earthquake. But very gentle man, very, very nice, very humble, family man. Found his way into the Vince organization, and Vince at the time loved big men, loved giants, loved those people, and was amazed how John could move and know his cardio is limited and work the program around it and was successful as a singles wrestler. Fred Ottman, I believe, started in Florida territory, and one of those where, big guy, looked like he could do some things. He did. It was limited, but I remember when he first came in, his wrestling gimmick, and I don't know if you remember this. Do you remember the name Tugboat?
Yes, I do. Yes.
That's how he came in with Tugboat, and he wore sailor's hat like Gilligan, and had a striped shirt, red and white, and nylon blue pants, and his finisher was, I believe, a big splash combined with I believe like an elbow drop. And then at the end of the match, and when he raises his hand and gives a little tugboat pull, was made his way into the organization of Vince, who basically repackaged him as Typhoon, put him and Earthquake together, natural disasters, and it was a good fit. They were good for each other, and the wrestling style they had, even though it wasn't scientific, they did put some, basic moves on, and their matches weren't that long because of cardio. But what they could do, they did damage and had a line of victories and losses for their opponents, and win after the tag straps. And man, I watched these guys move, and I was amazed how these big men could move, coming off the ropes, come off the second rope. I mean, it was amazing to watch both of them work, and they were cohesive as a team. If I remember right, too, I believed Bobby Heenan also managed them for a little bit, and they did find tag team gold, and they were successful in that. And there are times the crowd either booed them or cheered them. And the story with Fred Ottman is another wrestler that, when the camera's very fair, friendly, and humble, and appreciate the fans, wasn't afraid to take pictures and sign autographs. Fred's still alive. God bless Fred. He talks about stuff, and of course, there's one thing that he brings up, because everyone brings it up no matter where he is for any convention signing, was when his time in WWE was over and went to WCW during the Turner phase, and Hogan brought him in to be like in his wrestling stable, and was supposed to be introduced as the Shockmaster. Fred, and this is his story, that they got some styrofoam stormtrooper mask, basically sprayed it, colored it gray, and put glitter around it. And the thing is that when he put it on, they didn't have room for eyelets, so he couldn't see. So it's like he had to put this headpiece on for as best he could, and kind of look down to watch his feet so he wouldn't trip. But as he announced him and he came in through the wall, he kind of tripped. The headpiece came off. He kind of knew that was him, put it back on, and the Shockmaster didn't last that long. But God bless, he was human. He made a mistake. He laughs about it, and he takes it all in stride. And that's the type of person he is. And hey, you make mistakes, and it's funny, and you can laugh about it. And he said, thank God he didn't get hurt doing that, because that was what he was afraid of, because he couldn't see through that headpiece. Wonderful person. John, though, his partner 10th, I believe it was in 2003 2003 or 2007, died of bladder cancer. And that's the reason why he left wrestling is he was diagnosed with the cancer and wanted to get home with his family to fight hard, and unfortunately the cancer got him, and he's very missed. And I believe if you want to find more about John Tenta, there is an episode on Dark Side of the Ring that explains John Tenta, and he also had a stint in Japan with Masino Chono and Anoki. So I mean, he was very popular as a big man there, and they were amazed at how the big man in Japan could be so agile and move. And it's a loss, and yet there it is, yeah. And his family will basically give you more insight on the man instead of the wrestler, and you'd find out that good husband, good father, wonderful person, and surely missed it, and not only in the world of professional wrestling, but as a human being altogether. So,
Come on, you got to get into the production or get over here getting these photos up as you're talking.
yes, the technical guru's on his game.
You can tell I'm in my groove over here. Say, anyone wants me to be producer for you? Let me know.
Hey, there you go.
I'm very good at it. So, while he's talking. So, all right, let's move on. So, this is an interesting one because this is one of those. We have to remember what Hall of Fame this is. And we've had weird Hall of Fame inductions in the past. We've had Coco Beware. We've had Sharmell.
Mm-hmm.
We've had all those. And I think that this person does, if they're going to be in a Hall of Fame, she belongs in before someone like Sharmell. Anyway. So, that's my opinion. I'm talking about Michelle McCool.
Oh, my Lord.
Who is being inducted by The Undertaker.
Her husband.
Obviously Mark Holly. I'm not even sure how much you're going to have, but Michelle McCool.
Florida Wrestling, I believe, was where she got noticed. More of a model type of individual, and I think that's what she did before she got into the world, because I think she wanted to dabble in it because her husband was successful and wanted to give it a shot, because they were looking for more female wrestlers because there didn't seem that there was a program enough for female wrestlers. And went into training at Florida, and I believe at that time, I believe Dusty was part of that organization in Florida Championship Wrestling, and where he made future stars. Made a star out of her, noticed something, her persona, and how, even though she's tall and skinny, was able to move around in the ring and come off the ropes and have a nice finisher. And when she was done with that, they basically introduced her into WWE, and later on during her career, after she was established, teamed her with was that Layla, I believe? And basically,
Lay Cool. Sorry,
yes,
I did it for a second.
Yep, and then formed the team Lay Cool, and they won at that time the Woman Divas Tag Team Championship.
No, there was no tag team championship.
Oh, wait a minute! Wasn't that when they were co-sharing?
Yes,
Yeah,
I'm actually
co-sharing.
I'm here. I'm just trying to find photos. So
yeah, co-sharing the title, the Divas Championship, and they got away with it, and they did it for quite some time. And
I never liked the breaking up of the belts. I was never a fan of that ever. I hated it. So that's just me though.
It was a new type of gimmick, and it worked for a while until people got tired of it. It really did. And Michelle broke out on her own, and she was very, very successful. And you know, her husband kept on her and made sure that she was training well and eating right and making sure that she didn't get injured too much. There is a story, and I think she tells it on an episode, WWE Superstars, where how she first met Mark Calloway, and she tells the story, and then they cut to Mark, and he goes, "Yeah, I bet she told you this story. Let me tell you what exactly." But they a lot of people figure, you know, that they're like total opposites, but you know they gel well together and they do well together, and they train together. And Michelle also behind the scenes of NXT for a while did some coaching, and she's her she has a good head for the business just like Mark does. And you know, God bless them. Who knows? Maybe down the road, if I'm mistaken, but I thought I heard rumblings about having a wrestling school and having some talent come through and train them for getting either a foot in NXT or other things. But yeah, they work here together. They nice home, like where they live, and you know, even though you know Undertaker has this reputation, Mark is the person, very very wonderful, humble, and is willing to do anything to kind of help out. But one of those is just remember where you came from, because pass it on. I did this for you, so now you pass it on into someone else. So,
By the way, so the interview you were talking about was on Chasing Glory with
that
William Garcia. So
that's
there you
it.
go.
There you
That
go.
podcast is not a podcast anymore, but you can still find this interview. I actually found this photo on YouTube. So
Yeah,
there you go.
Michelle said when she first went up to him, she was like a little like you know intimidated because here he's got his Undertaker garb on, and it's like, yeah, a lot of people would be. It's like, what do you say to him at first to basically break the ice? Like, hi,
So
how's it going?
true. All right. Well, I dig up a photo here. I'm working on that on this end. Let's
Okay,
move
Mr.
on
Producer.
to being inducted by Diamond Dallas Page,
Oh,
the one, the only Lex
Lex
Luger.
Luger.
Go ahead.
Oh my God, where do you start? Football career before wrestling. Uh, True, he did one season with the Green Bay Packers. And then the Packers kind of went, you can't work with us because you're not listening. You want to do your own thing, so find some other team. He also did Canadian football. Was into his body, good physique, and training because of football. Got noticed in gyms. They got him into the Florida territory, which was still NWA. I believe was also trained a little bit by Ivan Koloff and others there. Made his debut in '85 with Florida Championship Wrestling. Got titles over there. Got noticed. And then after he left there for, I believe, 2 years, found out that Vince McMahon was starting a bodybuilding federation that was kind of an advertisement for the brand. I think it's ICAPRO for
Yes, IcoPro.
bodybuilding.
IcoPro.
Right. They basically had their logo on everything for that. I think Vince named it the World Bodybuilding Federation, the
That sounds
WBF.
right.
So Luger went in there and basically, Mr. Fitness, Nutrition, take care of your body, and was all set to kind of compete for that. And then injury happened as he was training, where had to put the plate in his forearm. And then Vince kind of recognized, well, that if I can't use him for bodybuilding, then maybe I can use him as a talent and put him in WWF, and brought him out as, I believe at first he came out, I believe it was a narcissist, because he's just into himself. And it showed the way his physique was and everything. And when a lot of people looked at his physique, two questions came up: was one, is it natural? And two, is he taking steroids? And of course, it's like, no, I'm not touching steroids. I'm not using anything. This is all hard work and stuff. And
I was about to ask you, was it ever proven if he was on steroids?
there was a wellness policy that happened. And here's the thing: early on, before steroids became rampant through athletics, there wasn't kind of any wellness policy set for WWF at the time, and the guys were juicing. I think Luger in his book, he was doing a little bit of it, but not much, not like everyone else, but it was just kind of keep, tone his physique. But everything else was training and hard work and eating right. The narcissist stuck for a little bit. And then after he kind of lost his luster, he went to WCW for Crockett Promotion. And I don't know if we remember this, but remember the Monday Nitro that they did at Mall?
Oh yeah, it's
I
all
think-
America.
Yeah, where they first did Monday Nitro live. And the funny thing is, if you were watching USA at the time and had WWE on, and you saw Luger wrestle a match, and all of a sudden you switch over to, I believe it was TNT, and who's coming in, walking in, towards the ring in Mall of America? Good old Lex Luger, and it was live, and people just couldn't believe. They were shocked. Like, why would Luger leave the WWF? Why is he coming over here? He had his reasons, and the reasons were that he wanted to make a name for himself and basically get belts and titles, and that was all about it. And he was successful at that. Got into the Four Horsemen for a little bit. Got out of that. Started a program against Sting. I believe too that a friend of Barry Windham, who also helped train him, and then they had a tag team. I think it was the Twin Towers at the time. They kicked some butt. Then they feuded. Eventually, you also had a feud with Nikita Koloff, which was when I think he won the United States Championship belt. Challenged to go after the heavyweight belt. Had that. Had a program with Flair for a little bit. Him and Sting were tagging, and believe it or not, in the background they became good friends. They opened a gym together. Were successful with that for a little bit until it waned off, and they end up selling it. And then Lex goes back later on to work for Vince. And this is where the popularity for Hogan's waning down. Yokozuna is being pushed heavily, and Yokozuna's got the strap, and all of a sudden you're on this aircraft carrier where they have the show. Yokozuna's in the ring, and you see this helicopter come down. Helicopter lands, open the door, and who comes walking out? Lex Luger, the total package. And they package him as a babyface who basically is going to come in and show Yokozuna what for and everything else. comes in street clothes, mind you, and cowboy boots. Comes in, lifts Yokozuna, slams him. The crowd goes nuts. He's on the turnbuckles and the ropes. He's got his arms up like in a victory pose, and basically starts the Lex Luger initiative on the Lex Express, goes on the tour bus, goes through these different cities and states promoting not only WWF, but that he wants to have a championship match against Yokozuna, and he's going to get the belt. The Lex Express. And there it is. He lived on that bus, did everything on the bus, made phone calls back to the family. I believe he had a daughter and a young son at the time. It was hard for him to get time off because they gave Lex such a push, which caused some issues within the family. Got the match for Yokozuna, but I believe he did not win the belt from Yokozuna.
No, he did not.
Because later on, when that came in, who came back for a resurgence? Good old Hulkster, and came in and got the belt from Yokozuna, and then everything was all right in wrestling land. Then Lex's star became the Fade and went back to Cracker Promotions that was run by Turner and Bischoff, and finished off with that, and basically had this program with Macho Man, and kind of became somewhat personal because in the background, Macho Man's kind of life was spinning out of control. Elizabeth left him, hooked up with Lex. They had their own little place. Macho Man would make phone calls and threaten, would come in or come over, drive by. I guess they end up getting protection orders, getting Macho Man. But then at their home in Georgia that he shared with Miss Elizabeth, there was a situation where in the background, even though everyone thought that Miss Elizabeth was hunky dory and peaches and cream, she had a demon to her, which included recreational drugs. And I'm not going to say which drug.
Yeah, it's not important for this.
But the backstory is that Lex was looking at legal issues, which kind of worked themselves out. But what happens, I believe, in 2007 is he has a pinched nerve situation, which is so compacted and causing so much pain that it ends up causing him paralysis. Ends up going to the hospital and having work done on it, and because of how much the pressure was on that nerve, his time was in the essence, because the longer that it was constricted and they don't fix it, the possibility of the nerve damage being permanent is very great. Unfortunately, it wasn't to his advantage. He had a hard time, and does, on walking and getting around. Is in a wheelchair, and basically gets in contact with a good friend, Sting, who helps him to get through things because his depression kind of has taken over. Becomes a Christian and writes the book, and lo and behold, a friend from the past pops in, and that friend is good old Diamond Dallas Page, who has this program, as he calls it, DDPY. The Y stands for yoga, and he has been successful with this program and has helped a lot of people. Just name a couple wrestlers: Jake the Snake Roberts, Scott Hall. Did some things with Butterbean, very successful, and says he can reach out to Lex and help him out. And this is, as he's also helping out Buff Bagwell. So he's able to work with Lex in the wheelchair, get some things going, and to get him. And he has Lex calls him Dally. Dally tells Lex, "My objective is I'm going to get you out of that chair to stand and to walk a couple steps, and we're going to work on that. And that's what I want to do for you." And following the story, works with him at the house. Is it in the upper or by in New York area? And then also he has.
I'm not sure, to be honest with you.
He has another place that's on the beach, I believe, in Georgia. And Lex always says he likes the beach, so they fly him out there. They have the house built, and the thing is, Dallas and his wife, as they're building it, have Lex in mind. So basically, one whole floor is like geared for Lex. The bedroom area, the bathroom, little kitchenette, the ramps, everything is geared for him, including an area where Dallas can work with Lex to basically get him up to where he can get out of the wheelchair comfortably, stand for a little bit, take a couple steps, go back into the wheelchair. But he's always getting him in motion and stretching out. And God, God bless damn Dallas Page, because the man takes on a lot, and his goal is, I don't want anything back. My gift is I want to pass this on to you so you can be successful, so you can be better, so you can have that sunlight, that moment that basically you haven't had for a while, to feel good about yourself and others. And God bless Diamond Dallas Page for what he's doing. And Lex couldn't have picked a better person to induct him, except it was between him and Sting. And my understanding is that the powers that be chose Diamond Dallas Page instead of Sting, and it's a good fit for especially what
I'm wondering if Sting didn't get asked because he's still technically signed by AEW.
Yeah, that's true. And
Technically.
the thing that I think that I'm hearing is that he's going to make an appearance for the Hall of Fame, and AEW is okay with that because of the situation. So Tony is okay with him
I haven't
making
heard
that
that
appearance
at all. So I have heard nothing about that.
So don't be surprised if maybe he makes a surprise appearance and surprise Lex for that, which I think would be fantastic.
I will believe that when I see it. I
The
just don't think it'll be on the air.
very
It probably
emotional
won't be
moment
on the air.
because
You know?
Lex was at Sting's retirement match, but they didn't show Lex because everything was in the back, and there they are, good friends in real life, and I'm sure that Sting will find a way somehow to kind of have his presence there, but probably not being filmed. But yeah, there's my picture with Lex. He's changed his outlook on life after being a Christian, and it's wonderful, and he's a great human being. And just after he found out he was being inducted in the Hall of Fame, he got remarried. So he's now
I didn't know that.
he's now a newlywed.
Wow.
So this is going to be a very emotional moment for Lex. Whether he stands or walks to the podium, I have no idea. I'm sure that they'll make things accommodable for him. But this is the one where you better bring the Kleenex box, because it's going to be very emotional and you're going to tear up. And trust me on this one. Hey, it's okay if guys cry, because that's what, that's normal. And kudos to Lex. True thing. You want to know how he came up with the finisher, the torture act?
How?
Dusty Rhodes.
Of course.
Dusty was the kind of one that said, "Here, put this guy on. We'll call it the torture rack. Yeah, make it
All
look
right.
like you're gonna break the guy in half."
Let's move on. Last one. The main event of this. If you're watching any WWE programming, you know about this already. I don't believe the story that he didn't know, but whatever. Let's go with it. It is the boss, Paul Levesque, Triple H, being inducted by Shawn Michaels. I'll say a little bit before I throw it to you.
Go ahead.
Yes, obviously, Hall of Famer deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. I get that he didn't want to go with the single right away, but I think this is the right time. He is already in as a member of DX. I'm happy to see this happen. I know there's a lot of like, oh, the boss is going to the Hall of Fame. Relax. He would have been in anyway, eventually. So I just want to throw that out there. So to you.
Very good. I'm like you. I don't believe that he was totally surprised by this. I really don't. I know that somewhere along the line news leaked out, but I think he wanted to have it confirmed by the powers that be, which included Dwayne Johnson and others. But this is a man that had what I shouldn't say was still in the business, but as far as an active wrestler, was wrestling for 30 years. Started in the area of Jim Crockett Promotions. They kind of looked at him. Went through the power plant. They trained him. Was ready to make his debut, and they debuted him. I think back in 84, 85, under the ring name Terror Rising. I'm not sure who came up with that name. His gimmick that was basically he'd come out and try to do some scientific moves and have a submission move. And let's just say that his outing at first wasn't successful. But towards the end, he basically got a little bit of a following.
How's that for a fair photo?
Oh, there you go. When good old Paul had a wonderful head of hair. I'm telling you, this guy, I was jealous of the way his hair was. Believe it or not, I wanted to have that type of length of hair and kind of have a little curl to it. But yeah, so then after he got done with the Crockett Promotions, ended up Vince because saw something and brought him in. Only kind of used the Terror Rising gimmick, but spelled it a little bit differently. And that wasn't getting over, and they decided to repackage him. And he comes into the office, and Vince says to him, "What's your real name?" He says, "Paul Levesque." "Oh, Levesque, a Frenchman. So you should be a French snob. That's how we're going to repackage you." And he says, "But I don't speak French." "That's okay. Well, you'll get over it. Don't worry about it. But that's how we're going to package you. We'll call you Jean-Paul Levesque." And they put him out there with Jean-Paul Levesque and spoke kind of like broken French. And there's a video of it, and it's kind of comical, believe it or not. Character Jean-Paul Levesque didn't get over too well, kind of mediocre. So they had to kind of retool this and go, let's see where we can go. Well, we lacked the aristocrat snobbish persona, but maybe we change it up to where instead of being French, you're kind of like a nobleman from Europe, like Britain and London, and then we package him as Hunter Hearst Helmsley, the snobbish British aristocrat, kind of like a blue blood.
Was he British, or was he making fun of people from Connecticut?
I think it was a little bit of both he was having fun with because of how the part Connecticut is, the Hamptons and things like that. And came up with this robe that was just make him look like he was regal and spoke very eloquently. And I will, in his promos, didn't lose control, but very like in control. And I'm going to give you a thrust, beating and the beating of your life, and you'll never forget that. And promos were, show that they still in that snobbish persona, and would have these wonderful matches, and he was getting over. And the one match that I remember is, I believe the one was it with Henry Godwin when they were in the kind of like the barnyard match, and he fell in a trap of slop or something like that.
The hot pig pen match.
That's the one. And when he was, I gotta give the man credit. When Vince says he wants him to do something, he goes like 100% in on what he's doing, no matter what it is. And at the end of the match, man, he looked like he got slapped by the Hogs. It really did. So no matter what Vince told me, he went in like 100% in on this, whatever. Didn't want to cross the boss. Good hard worker. And then as this Hunter Hearst guy is kind of getting over, there's other talent in the organization that's all we're getting over big. And this is the time where the Rockers are breaking up, and Shawn kind of becomes his own person without Marty, and now is Shawn Michaels the Heartbreak Kid and catching over, and he establishes his little clique or group, which is comprised of Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, and Sean Waltman, and later on they make room for Triple H. That's what they called him, and then they repackage him, Triple H, as the fun badass. That's with the clique. And then as the clique kind of disperses and they go on to their different ways, it's Shawn and Hunter, and they come out as the Generation X.
So just hang on. Here is the click. Then and now.
Yep.
So that's where I was trying to find my picture of the click.
Yep. And they come out as DX, and they came out of the gates blazing fire, my friends. I'm telling you, when they just came up with this gimmick, and I'm sure that this was okayed by Vince and figure, okay, let's push the envelope because now we're changing the wrestling format from G to PG and even further. And came out and they did a lot of sexual innuendos, and in their vignettes it showed, and some things say on the risque side, and they pushed it as far as they could without getting shut down by the FCC and other
I will say
entities.
something about DX. That came around the time of Shock Jockers. And that's why DX worked. It was in the right time.
Yeah.
And you figure that out when they came back and did the reunion.
Mhm.
And it just didn't work like the first time. You know?
Yeah, and the thing with DX is it included later on Billy Gunn, Road Dogg Jesse James, and then Sean Waltman kind of came back a little bit and floating around, and but the main stars were Triple H and Shawn. And when Shawn was gone for a while with injuries and other stuff, it was Hunter that was running the show and China came in, and it was one of those. And You know how they say that wrestling promoters tell their sons and daughters, don't marry a wrestler? What's the one thing that happens is
Yep.
Steph kind of has a little thing
Yeah,
for,
we don't have to get into all that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So to make a long story short, they have a relationship, they get married, they have 3 daughters, and then later on, he and Sean go behind the scenes of the business and to where it is now, where Sean's in NXT and Hunter is the CEO of Talent. But if I get this correct, kind of answers to The Rock for some things, but
And
then some
don't
things it doesn't.
even get started on that.
Yeah.
Like,
But this is a man that had a head for the business and basically tapped into wealth of information from older wrestlers like Dusty Rhodes, like Dick Murdoch, uh, like uh, Black Jet. When all of these, as far as how the business goes, and talking to the Briscoes and everything, and okay, how do we want these guys to do the promos? How do we want the vignettes? What do we want to do? How do we pack? He was like a sponge and basically took in all this because he knew that when he retired from professional wrestling as a wrestler, he wanted to get into the business behind the scenes and make the business more successful and better and take it to the future where it belongs and come up with new bold creative ideas that are different and it shows. I mean, look at the digital media that WWF has and what they're doing and on Peacock, on USA, on Netflix, and you know th- everything is done for a reason that basically solidifies itself and being successful. And here's the thing with you want to call him Triple H badass, you want to call him Paul Levesque, call him boss, whatever, is that
I'll call him Papa H. I'll call him Papa H.
Papa H. Okay. What he does is when he comes up and he says he has a pad and he writes these ideas down, is he starts making phone calls to like Sean and other people going, what do you think of this? How do you think we should do this? How about so basically it's not like he's come up with these and run into the ball and say, okay, this is what we do and this is how I say we're doing it, and that's it. No, he gets feedback from a lot of people and says, okay, I think this will work. And has no problems of going up to wrestling talent and getting input. Like, what do you think if we do this with your character? What do you think if we do this with Shimona? How about we change your finishing move to something else? How about so he's always thinking, and God, I don't know how much sleep he gets, but I always see him traveling, and then he's always talking to Steph and the family, and always in contact with Sean, and they have their meetings. And this is a man that has taken something and that was successful and made it even more successful and better. And I wish nothing but the best for him on taking WWE to future levels and beyond, and then passing this on to someone else that has that same type of drive that he did to make this brand even more successful. So kudos for doing everything he's done. He's in the right direction. He has everyone working, together in unison, and it's really great. And I know this is a hard position for him, and he deserves it. He deserves to go into the Hall of Fame. He's worked hard for it. He should get recognized for the hard work he's done in this industry, because if you tell me that he didn't work his butt off to get where he is, I'd tell you right to your face, you're wrong. He lives and breathes for this industry. It's in his blood, in his veins. He's happy what he does, but he also has his own time that he knows he has to de-stress from this, because a lot of things kind of build up and he needs to basically de-stress and be able to think clearly. So, hey, this man has done it all, seen it all, and hopefully we'll see a lot more in the future.
All right, so that is where we end this. By the way, I did have to mute it because on my end, because I do have the wrestling show on, and Maki Ito was during her in, so I had to mute it.
Okay.
So we're gonna close this out with a little bit of Motorhead, King of Kings. The closing's out today. We'll keep this short and sweet. Find us on all the platforms you see on the screen at Generation Evolution. Go find Christian on YouTube at the Villain Center. Join me and Christian on Sunday morning to talk about Night 1 of WrestleMania Live. And the three of us will be here on Monday for Night 2 recap. Dad, anything else you want to say?
All I want to say is get a chance. Go watch WrestleMania, whether it's at David Buster's or some other place. Watch this, because I'm telling you right now, within the 2 days, if you say that you're not getting your money's worth out of this, you're sadly mistaken. They're pulling out all the stops in Vegas to make this a very successful, not only for Vegas, but for WWE. And the card they have is great for the 2 nights. And if you say that you're not entertained, you're lying your ass off.
All right. On that note, this has been a crazy week. I'm tired. I'll see you on Sunday morning, my birthday morning, to talk WrestleMania Night 1. Till then, I'm Mike.
I'm Mark.
And you've been in the Generation Evolution. Have a good day, everybody.
Have a great WrestleMania weekend.
Their screams echo loud in the place of their death.
Thank you so.
Ripped open, they die with their final breath. They hail the King of Kings. Bow down to the King.
Thank you so very much. Goodbye. Mwah, and good night.